Ever wonder what it takes to build two competing HVAC companies in the same market? Today, we're diving into the world of entrepreneurship, remote operation, and innovative strategies that transform business from the ground up. Stay tuned as we uncover compelling insights on leadership, automation, and overcoming challenges from our exceptional guest.
Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome to Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Before we jump in, here's our quick mission statement at Freedom Blueprint. Our goal is to assist business owners in achieving the freedom they dreamed of when they founded their business. We do this by discussing relevant topics, strategies, and even the speed bumps they encounter. We all encounter them, you know? So we're going to empower you to build a blueprint that unlocks the freedom within your business. And listen, today is no different. So we got a pretty heavy hitter hanging out with us today, and I'm excited. Tersh Blissett is hanging out with us, and I'm really excited to kind of jump in and learn a little bit more about his journey. And you got a lot going on here. So obviously Tersh is a pretty busy dude. He is a speaker. He's a podcast host. He hosts Service Business Mastery podcast, which is one of the top rated podcasts in our space, which is cool. He also owns Service Emperor HVAC, TriStar HVAC in Savannah, Georgia, and an automation company. So you are straight up a true entrepreneur. And I know you're busy, so thanks for coming and hanging out with us for a little bit, Tersh.
Yeah, man, Justin, I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be here. And yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. So I got TriStar going pretty smooth, and I was like, you know what, let's do this again. Let's start over and try it in the same market with a different strategy to see if this strategy is going to work or not. So that's how Service Emperor came along.
So I know a lot of people that, and I myself have done this, where I have built and sold and then built again and sold again, but I've never done it with two basically competing businesses in the same market. So that's a different,
so in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I don't want to have to wait 5 or 10 years if I have to sign a non-compete here, because the thought process that I wanted to do was I wanted to prove that I could be 100% remote and 100% paperless, while still serving the affluent neighborhoods in our industry. But I also was like, everything that I want to do right now, because this is like 2016, 2017. Everything wasn't in the cloud yet. Zoom really wasn't a big thing. So I was like, I kind of need a safety net to fall back on. Because when we started TriStar, my wife, Julie, she was a nurse, and she was actually a professor at Georgia Southern as well. And so she was our breadwinner. And I was like, I don't want to do that again. I was like, I had a conversation with my business partner, Tim, with TriStar. And he's like, yeah, as long as they don't compete against each other, like legit compete. I was like, yeah, that's fine. They won't, because they serve two different clients.
Different avatar.
Completely different.
So I think that's interesting you say that, because I think that a lot of times in our space, when it comes to contractors, they feel like everybody competes that's in the same neighborhood. And I think that's such a good point that you brought up. No, it's not. Like, everybody is not your customer.
Yep.
And be real clear on what and who your customer is and what they want. And yeah, you can have 5 different companies in the same market and serve different customers. So I think that's pretty awesome. So was TriStar your first service company?
Yes. So long story short, I get out of high school and go to college. Well, I'm in college in high school, and then I go to the Air Force as a TAC P, and then get back home, and I'm working in a factory doing basically swing shift work with engineering because that's what I went to school for. But I despised it. And I worked with my dad, and my dad, lifelong welder, Boilermaker, union worker, like the whole time I'm in high school, he's like, you need to get like in the trades. You need to be an electrician, like, or he never once mentioned HVAC, but he did. His best friend forever, for the whole time I was growing up, was an electrician, a service electrician. And he was like, you should go work with Jeff one summer. And I was like, so we all grew up in the same church, and being in South Georgia, like that is your community center. Like right. It's a church. So every summer we would go somewhere. I remember vividly going to New Orleans and we went to the Bayou, and we did like a restore of this church. And like we were there for like 2 weeks. Like that was our church trip, our youth trip as a kid. And because Jeff, my dad's best friend, and my dad were best friends, they stuck me with Jeff, and because he was one of like the parent chaperones that went on this trip, and we did the electrical, basically rewired a house or a church. It wasn't a massive church; it was a small church, and I remember like it's yesterday how much I hated doing that. I was like, this is hot. I'm pulling wires. Like they're all out there like setting up lunch and eating snacks and stuff. And Jeff's over here won't even let me sit on the bucket while I'm, wiring these receptacles. Like he's making me squat down, and like, I was like, man,
you got to get that lean over.
Oh yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, but there's a bucket right there. I can just flip it over and sit on it. He was like, no, that's going to slow you down. I was like, all right, fine, Jeff. And so, I remember that vividly. Like even like when I was in like, at the factory or at the chemical plant, and I was talking. My dad happened to work at the same chemical plant too. It was for International Paper, and he said, you should reconsider like going and working with Jeff some, because Jeff was only doing it part time because he worked at another factory as an engineer, an E&I specialist. And so I was like, Dad, I still am just, I'm having some PTSD, not military PTSD, but church PTSD from when we went and rewired the house. Yeah. I was like, man, I just can't imagine that. Well, a friend of mine just happened that he was a HVAC tech. Now this kid, smart dude, but I guess probably street smarts more so. He dropped out of high school when he was 16. We're like the same age. Maybe he's a year older than me. But he drops out of high school, didn't go to college. I don't know if he ever got his GED. It's irrelevant, honestly, because he, like every afternoon, he would be at my house, and I'd come home from work from this chemical plant, and he'd come home from work catching service calls, HVAC service calls, and we would work on cars together. And that was our passion. That's always been my passion. Like I have a full sleeve of car part tattoos. I have 12 vehicles now currently, but we were working on cars, and I'm like, Brandon, how can you afford this stuff? Like you're a high school dropout. Like that's what we all hear about. It's like you can't make money unless you go to college. And he was like, oh, you want to see my check? I was like, yeah, I don't know. That's like not Southernly of me.
Right.
Like, it's not Southern gentleman of me.
South,
yeah,
sir.
That's right. So he was like, whatever, dude. And so he showed me. I was like, dude, that's the same as I do, or more than what I make. And I was like, and you don't have to go to a factory every day. I was like, give me a job. And he was like, you know anything about air conditioning? I was like, no, I don't know the first thing about air conditioning.
I can turn it up.
I traded him a supercharger kit to replace the AC unit in my house, and I watched him do it. And this is like right after we had this conversation. I watched him doing the change out, and I was like, bro, I can do that. Like, that's a piece of cake. He's like, yeah, this isn't the most difficult part of it. This is the part that I don't enjoy. He's like, I like the service work because that uses, that requires some thought process. And I was like, I like a challenge. Like, give me a job. Well, long story short, he got me a job, and it was instantly I enjoyed it. The dopamine drip of solving the problem solver, saving the day for a homeowner. Like, you just had that hero complex almost. But 2 weeks after I'm in a van, like I do the onboarding, I do the ride along, and I'm progressing very fast because I can read the wiring schematic. I literally went to school for engineering, and they're like, this is a York and it's got all black wires. How did you trace out the short? I was like, I followed the wiring schematic. Like, how else would you do it? You're like, well, that's not how we normally do it. And like, this is another trainer of mine. He's like, how did you even know how to read a wiring schematic? Because I didn't tell everybody there that I went to school at Georgia Tech or anything like that, because I was like almost embarrassed that, hey, I'm not using my degree for anything. I'm going to be a lowly tradesperson. And it's hilarious to think back on now at this point in my life. But one thing led to the other. 2 weeks after I'm in the truck and like just kicking butt and taking names, like, and Brandon leaves. He's like, I'm putting in my notice. I was like, oh, great. You got me into the industry and now you're leaving. Well, long story short, I end up becoming the service manager 2 years after starting in the industry, and then worked my way around to GM, install manager. And that business we took, once I became the service manager, I think it was, in 05, no, I started in 07 when I became a service manager, and which was a great time to become a service manager of a company with the recession hitting and the housing market crashing and everything else. Thankfully, we were in service work and no new construction at all. But we took that company from 1 million revenue annually to 8 million in the next 4 years. So through the recession, we shot up pretty good. And so then I used to call myself a wartime leader, which is apparently bad to say. I learned that from a guest on the podcast. He was like, I would challenge you not to do that, because what that's telling people is that you had childhood trauma and you're looking for a next exit strategy. I was like, oh, great, thanks. And
well, most people don't know that until you said it.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, okay, well, won't say that anymore. But it is true. So like, as soon as things were running smooth at the company that I was managing, I really got bored, and I was like cantankerous and like just not happy in life. And that's about the time whenever I decided to go out and start my own business. And I had just happened to meet a guy who was the largest flooring and painting contractor in the city. And he did a lot of not flips, but turns whenever people move out of rental properties. But he didn't have an HVAC or plumbing or electrical department. So we teamed up together, and that's when we created TriStar in 2014. And we were growing hand over fist, and just, it was one of those things where like I was in the van a lot, but then I got out of it, and once I got out of the van, that's when we started to grow. But we also had him in the office as well, and he's, I'd probably say, I don't even know, I think he's like 25 or 30 years older than I am, and I need to check on him. That means he's old as dirt right now. I'm thinking about my age. No, I'm just kidding, Tim. But he was a mentor of mine, but he was the guy that said no. Like when I was at the other company working and managing, I didn't get told no very often.
Right.
And also, it wasn't my money whenever I was managing. And then once I started the business, now all of a sudden it is my money, and Tim and I were going to bootstrap it. And so he's the one that told me no a lot. And I was like, bro, Tim, you're killing me, man. Like, you're thinking everything old school way. And so like he would say, all right, I'm going to tell you no until you can prove me to wrong. I wouldn't say wrong, but until you can convince me to say yes. I was like, man, that's like an uphill battle every single day. Like, I was getting irritated, but I looking back, I truly appreciate everything that Tim did when he said that, because whenever we had the conversation of, hey, Tim, there are things that I really, really, really think will work, but you will never do it. It's not your cup of tea. One of those things is being 100% remote, and the other thing being 100% paperless. And Tim had our conference table became his office, and he would have work orders strung from, and this is a 18 chair, big chair conference table. Like, it's a big conference table. he would have papers strung and strode from one end to the other with file folders and everything else. I was like, man, you could do everything that you're doing right now on your phone, literally. And he was like, nah, you're not going to get me to do that. Like, it's not going to happen. And I was like, at that point, I'm kind of like, if I want to go paperless, it will not be with Tim. And I can appreciate everything about what Tim's doing because that company is a very, very consistent $4.5 million a year. Like with, I would say consistently between 15 and 18% net. And Tim doesn't want to get any bigger. He actually doesn't even want to be that big. And he just wants it to just Cadillac right along. Now his son is the GM of that company. I have not stepped foot inside that business, inside the office since 2019. And yeah, they just call me when they have an issue. The systems are in place, the processes are in place. That's kind of where that wartime leader mentality came from. Was as soon as TriStar started running smooth, then I was like, all right, now let's throw a wrench in this thing. Like, we've automated as much as I can. Let's start Service Emperor. And it, in between the starting of Service Emperor and TriStar running efficiently is whenever I started the podcast. And that kind of fueled my ego and fire at the same time of like, all right, I should do something like Service Emperor. I didn't know it was going to be Service Emperor at the time, but I was like, yeah, I should do this automation thing. I should do this remote working. And
what year was that?
2018 officially.
Okay.
Was when Service Emperor started or came to fruition. The podcast started in 2016, late 2016, early 2017. And so it didn't take long for my ego to be like, all right, yep, confirmation bias. Let's go ahead and start this thing. And so I did that. I got Tim's blessings on it. And we had that conversation that, hey, I didn't go into detail about the clientele, the avatar of TriStar versus Service Emperor, but I will say, and it's complete. I talk about it all the time on the podcast too. So TriStar is a very high volume, low margin company. So the guys will run 10, 12 service calls a day, and average service ticket is like $249 because the not to exceed is $250. And so like you bump it right up to it as much as possible. But they're going to run and gun. Like, guys are wearing blue jeans and t-shirts, white Vans with maybe a decal on the side of it just to get into some of the neighborhoods that have to have a decal. But Service Emperor is the exact opposite. You know, the guys wear khaki pants, a black polo with an orange undershirt. All the vans are fully wrapped, and you know that you have a probably, I'd say, $20,000 investment for TriStar's van, including inventory, probably.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, because everything's used. Like, buy used vans from auctions. Like, that's it's the hustle, man. Like, it's a whole different thought process. You don't get new vans because it's not in the budget for it. And then you get Service Emperor, where like the guys, I love them to death, but if they get a van, if their van's like 3 years old and it's like 60,000 miles, they're like, all right, Tersh, we got to do something about this. Like, all right, fine.
This is cramping my style, Tersh. I gotta have me a new. I need some new whips on this thing, man.
But the thing about it is like, you keep it clean, you keep it representing. Like, all right, I'm gonna do it, and especially if you're profitable. You're profitable, yeah. Like, it's not like people don't hold me hostage by any means, but we have a very much of a culture of reward based, and it's not. I wouldn't say dangling a carrot. Because sometimes I'm like, oh man, I just hate to, like, it's your job. Like, why do I have to, why do I have to pay you more, or why do I have to tell you good job? Like, you got a paycheck, right? That's your thank you. But at the same time, there's certain people who have personality that like they need to have that confirmation. They have words of affirmation.
Yep.
And so learning that as a leader, that was a challenge for me as a leader, because that's not my personality at all. don't give me accolades, it makes me feel awkward and I'll shut down. So, yeah, that was a long way of saying to where we're at now. Service Emperor and TriStar are both in the same market, not competing against each other.
But I think that's such a cool story, and it's a great example of there's so much technology, right? And you look at our industry over the last 10 or 15 years, and I can remember. So our stories have a very similar backstory, very similar. And I still own a company in Atlanta that I've owned for 20 something years now. And it's turn and burn, high volume, low margin. I couldn't tell you the last time I've even had a whole lot to do with it. I have a partner that runs it. He's amazing. If he needs me, he'll call. Otherwise, cool, checks in the mail, like all that good stuff. But I can remember in 2000, probably 13, 14, somewhere in that range, just wanting to do something like pictures, because I can remember when we first started, because we did a lot of retail, a lot of Lowe's, a lot of Home Depot.
Gotcha.
And I can remember they would come off the fax machine. So Monday morning, we would load that thing with paper and it would just like run out. Like, and we're like, wow, this is great. We get all this money everywhere. And like, oh no, it's not money yet. But just finding a software that had pictures. Like, there was no Service Titan then. There was none of these kind of softwares were around or existed.
Back when was it ESC turned to Desco, or Desco turned to ESC, and then it turned into Field Edge, and I immediately was like, oh, cloud-based and I can get pictures? Yes, let's sign up. And then I didn't learn until after the fact that the images were super compressed, and like you couldn't blow them up or anything. Like people would, if it wasn't a perfect image when it was uploaded, you're never gonna see that image. And I was like, oh gosh, like I thought we had the fix all for this exact situation.
But in that short period of time, something as simple as pictures has gone from it was almost impossible to do it, or you were having a digital. I mean, I knew guys that were doing digital cameras and uploading. We tried that. I'm like, I don't have the patience or the expansion or I don't have the time for that. But, and now you look at how, as you get into automation and as you get into all these other things, but what I think is cool about the story that you were talking about is you can be successful both ways, right?
Yeah.
You could be that old school. I mean, listen, there is very, very successful contractors that used to use pagers. There is very successful contractors that were doing it before pagers. They were using payphones, and they would run around with quarters in their things and
have CB radios.
Have CB radios, no GPS. Can you imagine if we had that now? I can remember the map books. Like guys,
man. It was like I'd get in a van and the guy would have like this really thick map book. I'm like, oh, where'd you get that from? Like then all of a sudden I'm jealous of his map book.
And then you're like, oh wait, there's a GPS Garmin. You know, then the Garmin came out and said, anyways, I think it's a cool story. But all of that happened in less than like 15 or 20 years.
It did.
And then, you know, something I do want to talk to you a little bit about is the automation side of it. But now we've gone from that to now automation and booking calls and
you have AI assistants, AI agents who can answer the phone call and book it into Service Titan or Sarah or Field Edge or whatever CRM you're using, which is just mind blowing. I mean, if you want to talk to a human agent, they can connect you. If you don't care, they'll do it. If you just want to text, you can text the AI agent as well, and they'll input the information into the system. Like it blows my mind. So automation, I didn't know it, but I turned into an automation junkie back when I was a service manager in 2007 or 8. I figured out, so one of the first things that happened just after I became a service manager, I would say, was when we had the GPS that looked like the Palm Pilot, and it would sit in the vans. But the thing about it was that their the trip charges and everything, like the trip, we need to track like how long it was taken between calls, like call travel time and stuff like that. And all that stuff was inside of that program, but I needed to get it on an Excel spreadsheet every single day. And by 10 o'clock, I had to turn it into Fred, who's the business owner. And I had to have the travel between calls, the revenue generated, the amount of parts that were used, basically gross profit, completely figured out. For every single service call, I had to have it all done by 10 a.m. and on his desk by 10 a.m. And the only way that happened was if I started at 7:30, did not converse with the guys when they showed up. Because you know how, I mean, my shops aren't this way anymore, but back then, like, everybody came to the shop, got coffee, stood around the dispatcher's table at the desk and just chit-chatted, and then finally would leave out of there by 8:30, just kind of mosey on out of there. Well, I couldn't converse with them if I had for me to get it done by 10 a.m. And it was a stressful time. And I think Fred was challenging me because the guy that was before me, Brian, the service manager, he didn't do the first one of those, like, ever. Like, Fred told him to do that, and he was like, no, not going to happen. Because Brian's very old school, too, and I love Brian to death. Like, I love that guy still today. He's one of the smartest guys I know. He has a memory of forever. But he's like, no, I'm not doing that. And so I just wanted to please because I did not deserve to be a service manager. Heck, I was barely a service technician. And so I was like, you know what? Let me figure out this automation thing. So I started researching a lot. Back then, there wasn't really even the internet was not crazy. Like, there were forums, like chat forums and stuff like that. So I started looking up Excel forums, and then I figured out some automation forums for integrating this GPS into Excel. And so then I figured out how to, at midnight every night, automatically integrate or upload all the information from the GPS into that Excel spreadsheet, built the formulas in Excel so they automatically calculated it from hours to time, or time to hours, and then automated the whole rest of the spreadsheet. So literally all I had to do was put the customer's name in and hand it over to Fred. And so it was like a 10-minute process.
If you think that you don't use your engineering degree, you are so wrong.
Oh, yeah, I know that now. Looking back, I definitely did not. Back then, I was just an embarrassed guy that had student debt and was like, everybody in the trades was telling me, like, you don't need to go to college. You don't need to go to college. And then here I am, like, I'm going to college and I'm going to prove y'all wrong. Well, then I get proven wrong. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's eat some humble pie over here, but I'm not going to talk about it as much as possible. Now, obviously I talk about it all the time on a podcast now because I can laugh about it, but it's still one of those things where it's like, it's an experience. Yes. Would I do it again? No, absolutely not. Have I told my kids not to go to college? Absolutely not. Like,
right.
One of them wants to be a lawyer.
Got to go to school for that. There's certain things you must go to college to do.
Exactly.
A doctor, a nurse. I mean, there's certain things.
And one wants to be a doctor. One wants to be a nurse like mom. Like, so I'm like, cool. And then I have another one that's like, hey, Dad, I just want to do what you're doing. I was like, no, not acceptable. You cannot do what I'm doing just because it's what I do. Now, if you get in the field, because I make all the kids ride along in the summers. So if you're in the field and you pick it up and you love it, 100% I'll support. I'll show you how to be a service technician. I'll show you how to be an installer. I'll show you how to be a business owner, like any of that stuff, as long as you like are actively asking me questions. But if you don't have the passion for it, I will not allow you to just be here just because it's convenient for you. Because there are times in my life where I went to like engineering school because it was convenient. Like, and it's funny to say that, like, it's funny to say like math was just easy, but it legit, my brain works in a way that like I see triangles and I see squares. I have a crazy spatial awareness. Like I can look in the back of like, my kids aren't here. My whole family, they went to Carol Wynn's and Great Wolf Lodge for the weekend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I said hard pass on that one. Not hanging out with a bunch of loud kids. So
in a very confined space, by the way.
Very confined space. And, and my mom was like, oh yes, I will go 100%. And I was like, yes, tag, you're it. You go and I'll stay here. But I don't remember where the heck was I going with that one?
You're talking about school. You're talking about making sure your kids that they have a passion for before they just do it because it's convenient and easy.
Yeah, and I know what it is. Beep. My brain. Obviously, that's what I was talking about, my brain. So they're packing up in the back of my wife's SUV. She has all this luggage laying out behind the SUV, and she's like, this ain't gonna fit. And I just look in there, and my brain literally does the geometry. Yeah, Tetris it right up. And she's like, I knew you'd make it work, but I don't know how you did it.
But now she's gonna have to load it back up when she's done.
Well, good news is she's dropping one kid off, and half of the back of that thing was full of snacks that they were taking on the trip. So they got one less luggage and a lot less snacks, I'm sure by now. But yeah, that's just how my brain has always worked. And so whenever I tell people, go into school for engineering was simple, that was the comfortable route. The uncomfortable route would have been from day one, join the trades and do these things that are unknown to the family, because nobody in my family, my grandfather owned a landscape company, but he was the only one that told me not to be an entrepreneur. He was like, don't do it. Just get a job that has insurance and stable, 401k, whatever. And everybody else is like, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and there's a difference between owning a job and owning a business. And I think a lot of times people who tell you don't do it are guys that own jobs versus, actually owning the business. And
that was Grandpa. I mean, I can surprisingly, now my grandfather passed away in December of 2020 or January of 2021. It was right around Christmas, I remember. But, I think up until 2018, he was still going and doing random landscape jobs because he was like, I have a job. Like I have to go out here and do this. And not like, he's also a people pleaser too. I think that's part of where I got it from. And so he'd have one of his Shriner buddies say, hey, I need this mulch put out here. He was like, oh, I get it taken care of for you. You know how he is. That's just guys. So, but like you said, he was the only one in my family at that time who was an entrepreneur. So I couldn't ask anybody any questions, especially someone who was a successful entrepreneur. And he wasn't unsuccessful. We never went without. And Lord knows, every single summer, me and my 3 guy cousins worked for him every summer. And what we did learn was that we don't want to do landscaping because we would resod golf courses every single summer and be out there in the sun and bending over and dropping sod. And we learned
Georgia heat.
Oh yeah, that humidity. Like you would come out of your shirt probably an hour into doing it and then just be sweating and sunburnt the rest of the summer. And so I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. And that was the perception that I had of being a business owner. Mm-hmm. And I mean, looking back, I don't regret anything that I did at all. They're all experiences, and they're also, it's like Thomas Edison said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just learned 10,000 ways not to create a light bulb. And so, but when you're in the moment and you're actively going through a failure or a struggle or something, it is hard to look at it like Thomas Edison did. Looking back, sure, I can say this. I can say the same exact thing. But in the moment, like there were times when, heck, with TriStar and with Service Emperor, when we started up the company and we were like, man, we don't have money. Like, we don't have enough money for this. Like, we are strapped. And we bootstrapped both companies. So we didn't take out any loans or anything to get the company started. And there were times where, like, so my wife, Julie, her family, on her mom's side, her stepdad's side, they're very affluent. And there are times where we were like, oh man, maybe we could get a loan from Grandpa. Now, when I say affluent, like affluent, like He has a house on hole 9 at like Jack Nicholson's golf course in Ohio. His house is like the second most expensive house to sell in Ohio. Like affluent. They owned an airplane company and sold it whenever, like 30 years ago. And she asked him for a loan one time, and he was like, "No. Tell me what you need it for." She was like, "We just need to influx some cash." He was like, "Well, what's your profits? Or what's your P&L?" Like, "Well, the P&L is not very good." He was like, "No, not going to happen." He could have easily just like said, here's $10,000. Like just on a whim, no problem at all. But instead he was like, "No, straighten out your P&Ls, bring them back to me, and then we'll talk." And now this he's in his 90s now, and just the greatest old man in the world. Like Grandpa Ryan is like just a genuinely great dude. But the fact that he said no, I was like, oh my God, like this is like crushing our soul. Like, because, and knowing that he's like given other family members money, and we've watched those family members not need the money and then just like piss it away. And then for him to say no, I was like, what's the lesson here? I mean, at the time I was pissed at the time. I mean, not really pissed. I was just like, all right, well, that's one way of not getting money. How do we get money other ways? But then when he didn't just say no though. He said, nope, get the P&Ls corrected and come back to me. And it almost felt like, all right, if I fix the P&Ls, then he'll give me the money. This is what like
and then
I
when
felt
you
like
fix the
anyway.
P&L, you're like, well, dang,
I fixed the P&L. That's exactly what happened. And that's what he showed me. And he was like, all right, it's fixed. Like, now you know what the issue is, solve it. And then you'll have $10,000 instantly, and then you won't have to pay me back. He was like, not that any other family member pays me back, but I was like, yeah, touche, Grandpa. But still, you know, I mean, I would. But he's like, I know you would. But instead of having to do that, now you know the problems, and it's fixed.
I mean,
and
teach a man to fish, right? Like he
bro,
handed you.
But in the moment though, like when you're hungry and you're fishing, and that guy's got fish in his basket, and you're like, oh, my stomach's growling. Like he's like, yeah, but just cast your line right over there and pull back. You're like, yeah, but my stomach's growling, and it's like, you got a basket full of fish over there. Like, come on, man. And then all of a sudden you learn how to fish, and it's like, wow, now I have a big old basket of fish myself. And
it's a better gift. But yeah, again, at the time, it normally doesn't. Most lessons, you know, let's be honest, most lessons, if they're not expensive and not painful, they don't stick anyways.
Exactly. Like they're not long term. I actually had a business coach a while back. I mean, this has been years ago, but I say years ago, probably like 2019 or 2020. And one of the things that he said was, I could give you my services for free, no problem. Like it wouldn't hurt me a lick, because I mean, this guy probably had $250,000 of monthly recurring revenue, like literally want for nothing. He said, but if you don't write that check, you won't take my advice serious.
They say those who pay attention. So there's pain to it. You got to write that check. Yeah. Like, maybe I should pay attention to what the expert that I'm paying is telling me to do.
Yeah. That guy ended up making me millions of dollars, and just because I mean, some guerrilla marketing, and the thing about it is sure, there's probably a thing here and there that he taught me or told me about that I'd never heard before. But other than that, everything else that he had mentioned, everything that he mentioned is in one of the books that's sitting right behind me that I've read. But I didn't implement them at that time. I didn't do yard signs. I didn't do like wow service. I didn't do giftology. Like, and then all of a sudden, like I'm paying this guy to teach me. Like I need to at least implement it so I can say I tried it. Even if it's like, I'm going to do this just so I can show you it doesn't work. And then it turns around and works, and you're like, damn it, I guess I can't say anything about this. And then, and so then the guy's like, look, man, I haven't cashed any of your checks. I was like, oh, I know. I
You're
watch my
like, I
checking
know,
account.
I'm waiting on all of them to cash at one time.
Yeah, and you're gonna screw me if you do that. No, I'm just kidding. But he was like, I wasn't gonna cash the checks because he could see my P&Ls too. If I didn't think that you could afford it truly, but you didn't know that until now. And I told him, we had the agreement. I said, you have to cash the checks. You can't do this for free. Like, we are now friends, but at this point, like, I signed the contract. You're gonna cash the checks, and he did. But the thing about it is when I wrote the checks, it was probably 50, maybe 60% of my checking account. When he cashed the checks, didn't even notice it.
Yep.
But it's the thing about it is like he took the patience. Like he's just one of the, like, there's just good people out there that truly want you to succeed. But he was right. If he had given me those services for free, it would have been just like me and a buddy talking, and then I would be an asshole, which I tend to be sometimes, and I'll ask the same questions over and over again and never implement. So, and that wasn't the case with him. So, I mean, I don't know. He's proved me wrong, but in a good way.
Well, and I think that it's easy to get into the day-to-day and forget. I think about it a lot of times with kids, right? Like, you guys have got quite a few kids, and
Yep.
They're all at that age where, you tell them something and been there, done that, the outcome, and you tell them and they're like, no, I know.
Nah.
Like, you don't know anything. Like, that's the whole point. You don't know anything. And then you're like, oh crap, you know what? Matter of fact, my daughter the other day. So my daughter is 16, about to be 17. So she knows everything. And we were talking about something, and she said to me, I don't even remember what it was about. She said, Dad, I don't understand why you didn't tell me that was going to happen. Because you wouldn't have listened to me. Like, that's why.
Yeah.
Like,
we have a track record here.
Yeah. At some point, I get exhausted of talking at you, and I'm like, if I'm going to give you advice, I'm going to stop what I'm doing to tell you the right way to do it. If you're never going to listen to me, I don't have that need of, well, I told you so. Like, I'm not that guy. So I just don't say anything. So, but it was nice for her to say. And I said, listen, do you give me permission? I love coaching my kids. It's so much fun. I'm like, okay, do you give me permission in the future when I give you advice to say, do you remember that time when?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, totally. So I had sit down with my two older boys. I have four, and my youngest is our daughter. I'll be 100% honest with you. If she had been our first child, she'd be an only child. She is the reason I'm bald, 100%. I love that kid to death. Like, I would burn the world down for her. But golly, if she was our first kid, last kid, she was just that one, that baby and that toddler. Now she's wonderful, but she's 10 and, going on 21, mm-hmm. Can't tell her anything. And Lord knows not. So the boys never had friends, like want to come over, never did like the FaceTime thing. And now it's like every time I walk around Adeline, I'm like, are you on FaceTime? Like, before I say anything, before I like walk into your room, like, I got to make sure I'm fully dressed. Like, everything's got to be like, she's 10 and she'll be on FaceTime with her girlfriends, and that literally wake up in the morning and they're on FaceTime with each other doing makeup and hair. And I'm like,
getting ready for the morning together.
Oh yeah. And the boys are nothing like that at all, like nothing like that. My middle son, he doesn't even want to text people. Like, he doesn't want to text girls. He doesn't want to text his friends. They had a soccer group chat, and the soccer team would like send messages and stuff, and like send selfies in the game and videos and stuff. And he's like, man, y'all we got better things to do than this. This is nonsense. But one of the things I told my two boys, the older boys, they are 14 and 15 now. And I sat them down about a year ago. Not even that, really, about 8 months ago. And I sat them down and said, hey, look, guys, I'm gonna shoot you straight. Like, you're getting to that point in your life where I'm going to say something and you're going to probably say yes, sir, out of respect. And then in the back of your mind, you're going to think, I'm not doing that. That man's crazy.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He ain't got a clue about what he's talking about right now. I was like, and I know you're going to do that because I did that to my dad. And they're like, you did that to Pops? And I was like, yeah, I did. And like, they know I respect my dad to death. Like, they couldn't imagine me saying anything like that. I was like, so the fact that you see me respect my father the way that I do, and knowing that I've thought the same things that you're thinking, I want you to understand that it's perfectly normal. Like, I get it 100%. I'm going to let you fail. Moving forward, I will let you fail. I will not let you get hurt. But if you don't fail, you can't learn. When I tell you something, I'm not coming from an authority figure anymore, unless I come to you and tell you, hey, as your father, you are not to do this. But if I tell you, hey, you shouldn't do that, that is me giving you man-to-man advice. Yep. If you do it, then you have to deal with the consequences. Yep. And they're like, what are you talking about, Dad? I was like, perfect example. You go to bed. You don't have to go to bed at 9 o'clock anymore. Like your siblings, they go to bed at 8:30. I'm at 9 o'clock. I'm going to say, all right, guys, it's time for bed. If you go to bed, you go to bed. If you don't go to bed, you don't go to bed. But you will be up at 6 a.m.
That's it.
And there's no questions about it. You will not fight with your siblings. As your father, I'm telling you, you will not be grumpy. You will not lash out at anyone else. That is your consequence. If you stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning and you feel like complete garbage the next day, that's your consequence. And they're like, okay. So they kind of like push the boundaries on it some. And I let them even stay up. And then the next morning I was like, remember our conversation, son? And he's like, oh, I am really not happy with myself. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's something that my parents never did to me, because I was a latchkey kid. Like, we were
time
all
though, too. So
it was really, and so I heard someone talk about that a couple years back, and I decided to implement it, and it's been good. It can backfire, which I think I'm happy that it has, when they are still under my roof and I can help them come back from like a poor decision that was made. Like one of them drove a side-by-side clear across the county, like not the county, but a county away. Drove
to the other side of your property.
Feels like it. Yeah, probably. So the rule is like you can't leave our compound, which is like 1,000 acres. Like, so we have 250, but there's 1,000 around it. Like, you can't leave that area without at least telling Dad.
Right.
Like, we live in a farming community, so side-by-sides are on the road everywhere. Everybody knows to watch out for side-by-sides, rangers and whatever. But it's still, what happens if it breaks down? And I mean, verbatim said this exact thing. All right, guys, you absolutely can't leave the compound, the area, without telling me, because I need to be prepared mentally to go pick you up with the truck and trailer if you break down. My man dips out, doesn't go to like right at our county line, which is 10 miles down the road. He goes to the county line of the other county over, and then the belt breaks on the Ranger. And he's got a girl on the side by side.
Too much mud is what he was doing.
Riding down a dirt road. And just so happens he rode down one of my best friend's dirt roads. That's where it broke. That's where it snaps. So like, he goes to Bryce and he's like, hey, don't tell Dad. Don't say anything to Dad. He's like, you know who you're talking to, right? I'm a cop and I'm your dad's best friend. So I'm going to call your dad right now. And so he instead, my oldest Ivy, he calls me and he's like, hey, Dad, we broke down. Can you come get me? I was like, well, he messaged me. I'm sorry, on my phone. Well, I was in the middle of a podcast interview and I had another one right after that too. So I literally was back to back to back. It was going to be like 2 hours before I could go get him. And he had a girl that he had snuck and picked up and was on like, and I was like, bro, this is one of those times where it's like, you made a really bad decision. Like I gave you your, like my advice, like what I told you should and shouldn't do. You blatantly just ignored it. Now you have to deal with the consequences. Now you have to call her dad. You have to tell her dad what went down, what happened. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't lie to him because he's going to see it.
Just own it.
He's going to own the whole thing. And so eventually I went and got it. I went and picked the Ranger up. Thankfully, he was close enough to Bryce's house that they could chill there at Bryce's house until the dad came and got her and took her, and like he manned up to the situation, made him a better guy, but he regretted it. He felt like crap. Like, and I'm changing out the belt on the Ranger and the drive belt, and he's like, man, I'm really sorry. I didn't really wasn't thinking through. But I'd much rather that happen now than when he's like 25 and has a DUI or something like that, And it's like, all right, I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I'm going to do it anyways because it feels good. But,
well, and I think so. Leadership is leadership, and I think that whether you're leading a family, leading a business, like it's leadership is leadership, and I think a lot of times what's easy to kind of get clouded on is that leaders' job is not to micromanage; it is to manage the result.
yes,
and that's
100%.
because I do the same thing with my kid. I remember sitting down with Zach saying, "Go to school, don't go to school. I'm not your micromanager. I don't care, but I can tell you this: life is a whole lot more difficult if you're stupid and you have no drive and you don't do the things you say you're going to do."
Yep.
Now at 18, you're still leaving, whether that's whether that's you got somewhere to go or not.
You ain't staying in my basement,
which is
son.
fine. He's in the Marines now, and there.
Okay. So he's good.
But no, I think a lot of times leaders, as leaders, we forget that's it. Like that's the key is just manage the result.
Yeah.
Don't micromanage the process. And I think kids are just such a perfect example. And yes, as you do that, they're going to take advantage of their kids. But you're right. Let them do it now while it's little kid mistakes. Not keep such a hold over them when they get out in the big bad world. They make big people mistakes that could last
100%.
a very, very long time.
Their whole life. Like one,
Oh my gosh.
one thing that growing up in the Bible Belt in South Georgia, going to Baptist church my whole life, like you didn't drink alcohol. Like that's just one of them things. You didn't do it. And so like knowing all of the kids in my youth group get to 20, like even not even 21, not even make it to legal age of drinking. They're drinking because the whole life have been told no, can't do it. No. And I'm not advocating for underage drinking or anything like that, but to have such a hold on us as kids, like it was a natural curiosity to say, hey, what's going on here? And then like several of those individuals either wrecked vehicles, were drinking and driving, or got into some issues with alcohol because it was so taboo growing up. And like it's not like, please don't misinterpret this as I give my kids alcohol, because I don't. But it's one of those things where it's like, all right, let's have some small kid issues.
You're right.
And show them that like your decisions matter, and we can work through it at that point.
Right.
And let's don't wait until this is a federal offense before we start trying to teach our kids how to do right and wrong.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that parenting today is such a different, again, leadership in general, parenting today is so different because the technology is different and the access to things are different.
Yes.
And, and there has to be and it doesn't have to be, it could be social media. Like I know parents are like, my kids are not on social media. And I'm thinking your kids are on social media.
They are on social media. And maybe they're on a burner phone that you don't even know
about. That means
about.
you're not paying attention to what's going on there. And they still don't have the cognitive ability to realize that when they put a picture up there, whether it's Snapchat or not, it's forever.
There. Yep.
So
Yep.
Be wise, be smart, anyway. So
I feel like there's an age where a generation, and it wasn't a full like hard generation swap. It wasn't like a millennial versus Gen X type thing. I think it was like mid Gen Y when the mindset of images on the internet completely changed, where they're like, no, we're not putting anything up at all, because then we're safe. And then like that only lasted like half of a generation, and then that went back to like the other extreme where like, oh, we're good, we figured out like Be Real and Snapchat, and these things are just disappearing. That's a nope, not the case, not the case.
Okay, so
my oldest son, we figured out this the hard way with my oldest son, because they're 13 months apart, my two older boys, but they are 100 years apart in their soul. Like Ivy is like a teen right now. Aaron is like 150-year-old man. Like he's the one that's like, don't text me. And so it's like, even in the same household, being a leader in the same household is just like being a leader for an HVAC company, because I have one personality comes in to the office, or virtually on my Zoom office, and then another personality checks in, and they're completely different. One's bubbly, one's just not gonna have it today, and it's like, all right, yeah, I can relate to that. That's Ivy, that's Aaron, let's go. But yeah, we had to get an app called Bark, which monitors everything on every device that they have. And then he thought he was gonna be slick and get him a little burner phone from his friends so that he could do Snapchat, because Snapchat was an off limits thing in our house. And he didn't realize that I also monitor the IP address for the whole house. And so like, if a new device gets attached to our Wi-Fi, it automatically notifies me. And so he's like, I was like, bro, adult consequences
got
here.
this thing on
like,
lockdown, dude.
I was like, you realize, you see, like you brag to all your friends about how tech savvy I am, and then you think you're gonna out tech savvy me? I was like, all right.
Hey, a few years he might.
Oh, he definitely will. Heck, in 6 months he might. Because every time I put up a roadblock, he's like, okay, let me figure this out.
I got it. Now I'm going to problem solve this.
And I can't blame him either, because like that was me. If I was his age right now, oh my gosh, I'd probably be in jail. Like there was so much stuff that I did that, thank God it's not on social media. I just have to remind myself that sometimes whenever I'm like getting irritated with them for things they're doing.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. And so I was reading a statistic the other day that said, so millennials, and it said 50% of millennials are now homeowners.
Yeah.
So you think about how quick that shifted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes different buying habits and buying patterns, which means
Communication styles.
Yeah. Which means now 10 or 15% or 10 or 15 years down the road, which, the older we get, the faster that seems to happen. Now it's going to be that next generation, which means there's a whole different buying habit, and communication style and all those things.
Are they going to buy houses though?
Are they? I mean, not at these rates. I would hope that they would be smart enough to spend up to.
Sure. But like I have some cousins, they're basically nephews of mine, because that's how we do things in the South. We have massive families. And they don't drive. Like they're 18, 19 years old, don't even have their license. I'm like, you realize like we live in the country. You don't have the ability to
Uber
take.
is probably not quite as.
Nah, like if we got Uber Eats last year, oh man, like that was a big deal. On a regular basis, we spend money on Uber Eats to just deliver Mexican food. It's 7 minutes to the Mexican restaurant, but we can pay Uber Eats now, so we're gonna do that. Like that's a big deal here. Like we're in the country, and so for them, they're like, yeah, but I'm just not interested. There's too much risk involved and stuff like that. And so I'm like, are you gonna buy a house? I'm like, why? I can't move if I need to move quickly. I'm like, I don't know what like I bought my first house when I was 18 years old. And like, I can't imagine not being a homeowner, especially in where we live, like a rural, like it's not like New York City, like where it's crazy to own. So to go back to your point, like, are we going to have to shift our business model to better serve property managers because BlackRock owns the entire neighborhood? You know, is that what's going to happen? Or like, I mean, the whole communication mindset, as you said before, we talked about a second ago, people don't like to talk on the phones anymore. They want a text message or they want to schedule online. Like, do you have an online booking widget?
Yeah.
100% same. Like, I don't want to book a restaurant reservation by calling in. Like, I don't want to deal with the background noise. I don't want to be put on hold. Like, I just want to click on your website, click, reserve a reservation, and then send me a notification the day before so I don't forget about the reservation.
Or that you didn't forget.
Or knowing that, give me the confidence to know that you remember the reservation. So I'm not worried about that. It's not one more thing that's on my mind. And I can it's just a peace of mind thing and at ease. And I don't have to worry about, as a business owner, we have so much stuff rolling through our minds, but not even as business owners, as parents, as adults, like we're bombarded with things all day long. And if you have to remember every little thing, that's like at night, you do a brain dump, because otherwise, if you're trying to remember that, that's just unhealthy.
So let me ask you this: because you are, I'm going to call it a techie, if that's the right term or not, I don't know, but we're going to go.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
So, so what is a piece of advice that you would give? Like, what is one or two things, and you may have already said it, that you would tell everybody listening, if you like, what technology do they need to implement that is super easy, low hanging fruit, and can make the fastest impact on their business?
ChatGPT. 100%. Like, I don't use Google anymore. Literally. I stopped using Google. I have it as my web browser, Google Chrome. But for the most part, I don't use it hardly at all, which is terrifying. That should be terrifying to every business owner that's listening to this, because ChatGPT doesn't search Google. So if you're only worried about ranking number one in Google and you are completely ignoring Bing, be prepared. I had ChatGPT natively. Like, I didn't give it any special instructions. I said, search the internet for 5 of my competitors in every county that we service, and create an Excel spreadsheet with all of their 1-star reviews, and then create a script, short video script for how we solve the problem for every one of those. And it came back, the results it came back with, I said, I don't recognize any of these companies, really. Like, they're not, like, I'm going to have to Google these companies because I literally don't know who they are. And I went to Bing. Oh, well, first I went to Google and they were there, but they were way down on the list. Then I went to Bing and they were immediately on Bing. They were number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4. Like, they were the top 5 on Bing, and I literally had never heard of them before. And I asked, without saying go to Google specifically, I asked probably 10 different ways. And I can pretty confidently say that I'm very good at creating a prompt to get me the answers or the results that I want. And the fact that I asked it 5 different ways to do it, and it still came back with the same results. Like, as more and more people start using ChatGPT to do their search, if you're only on Google, you're going to get burned. I mean, obviously, people still use Google. Like, Google's not going away. They are the big alpha dog in the house. but more and more and more and more people are using Bing. So just be aware of that. Make sure that you actually have a listing on Bing.
Yeah.
You know what?
And it's still pretty inexpensive.
I haven't even gone to Bing to make sure my listing was right or anything. Like I need to do that. But ChatGPT is something that you need to have, because literally, I mean, just imagine like Julie, my wife, sent me a picture. I knew exactly what this insect was, but she's from Southern Ohio, Southeast Ohio. She'd never seen a mayfly before. And she was like, there was like this bug, this insect that I haven't seen before. And it was on my windshield this evening when I came back from Pop's and Grandma's. What is it? And I was like, oh, that's a mayfly. She's like, a mayfly? What's a mayfly? And I was like, you know what? And I took the image that she gave me and I just put the image straight into the ChatGPT app. Mm-hmm. Didn't do anything else. Put the image in there and it said, that's a mayfly. They live 2 days or a day and blah, blah, blah. And it gave like all this detail about the mayfly. And I just copied and pasted and gave her that response, because I knew she was going to ask follow-up questions, because like, that's my wife. She asked like, well, what did they do? Like, why did they do that? I'm like, I don't know. So here. Yeah. And so, heck, I didn't read half of it, but I gave it to her and she was like, wow, you knew all that?
Came up
I
with
was like, yeah. I 100% just typed it out for you. And I gave all those details too, because you know me, I am detail and she was like, no, you're not. You're going to give me the bare minimum. And then I'll have to fish out the rest of it. So where'd you get this from? And I was like, I don't know. She was like, you did chat, didn't you? We have the same access to the same chat. So she like pulls it up. Yeah. And she was like, oh, yeah, I see where she got here.
And ChatGPT is what, $20 if you get, even if you get a paid, and if you don't, then I think, they still do a free?
They do a free, and you actually have access to custom GPTs on the free account now. That's the new thing this week. So you can even use all of the custom GPT bots that I've been building out. I've built out tons of them. Like literally, because we all know service technicians, they do an amazing job at writing job summaries on invoices. So, and I'm being facetious when I say that. I created a custom GPT that they put their information, like what they would normally write, which, you know, is going to be bare minimum. You put it in there and it automatically rewords what they say. It removes any industry jargon and writes it so that it's understandable, easily digestible, with someone with an 8th grade comprehension. And you can put that information, transcribe that information back into the invoice on the job summary. So then it's a pretty much perfectly written,
Got it.
Well written job summary, invoice summary. I didn't tell y'all this whenever I was talking about the reasons that I started the podcast and stuff like that. One of them was because I was cheap and I was tired of buying books on tape, and I was driving 3 hours a day. And there was no other podcast in the industry at that time that was talking about business for HVAC. The other is I have dyslexia and a speech impediment. And so I literally forced myself to do this. I did this and joined all of the boards for different chamber of commerce and stuff like that. So I was networking, which was guerrilla marketing, but also forced me to stand up in front of crowds of people and talk. And then the podcast did the same thing. So I've slowly been able to get rid of my Southern twang a little bit, also help with the speech impediment. But I will tell you this, there's another piece of AI tech that I use. I don't use it a whole lot, but I've started to use it more just because it's fun. I'm sure that'll wear off soon, but it's called 11 Labs, and I uploaded 3 hours of my voice, and it's in the cloud, but it only takes 30 seconds of your voice to copy it. So if you're listening to this, make sure your family has a safe word, because if you have a 30-second long video on Facebook that I can scrape, I can take that sound, that audio, and mimic your voice. So like grandma calls the kids and tells them that she's coming to pick them up from school to come get in this vehicle that they've never seen before. your family needs a safe word for that situation, because grandma needs to give a safe word before coming. If there's any question, if you're not looking at grandma in her face, like, ask for the safe word.
That's a really, really good piece of advice, and something that, as the future unfolds, whatever that looks like, that is going to be a very real concern. I mean, safety can definitely be a concern when it comes to automation, and yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of softwares now that you can upload your voice and.
Yep. So with 11 Labs, I uploaded my voice and created some commercials, just test commercials. Actually, it's funny because I created an AI assistant who will scrape the internet. All I have to do is put in, like, I did my buddy's Travis's air conditioning company in Charlotte, and I said, I just put in Travis Crawford Heating and Air and Plumbing, and it scraped the internet, got tons of information, all these awards and accolades and everything else. It created a 3-minute script, commercial script, that was then sent into 11 Labs, and then my voice read the commercial, and it even added some of my speech impediment into that, because it caught those in the recordings that were in the 3 hours of podcast episodes. And so even though there were no and us in the wording, the script of the thing, it still added just the hint of a filler word. Like you edited the whole thing, but you missed that one little thing. It added that to there. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, because those little innuendos are the ones that make that sound even more authentic. And the fact that it added that in there, like, this is next level stuff here. But if anybody wants to, you play around with that program. They give you so many credits for free, and you could put it in all different like, there's one that I use. His is New York. It's New York Nick, and he has a I think it's like a Long Island accent or something like that, and but it's cool. It sounds very much like someone from that region, or anybody that I've heard from that region, anyways. But yeah, I mean, I have a list of 751 AI tools that I'm more than happy to give you, and you can share with your audience. That list, it took me about an hour to create, maybe an hour to create, and most of that hour was editing the colors of the Excel spreadsheet. And so, because, like, there's so many tools. I have a drop down, like, on my menu bar at the top of my screen, I have a folder that's called AI tools, and it's just like I could drop it down and just scroll and scroll and scroll, and those are the ones that I actually have accounts for. So and there's so many more every single day that come out.
Well, I know Google this week, at the time of recording, just came out and made some big announcements about their new AI that they're rolling out, and about what they're wanting to do. And one of the examples they talked about was comparing invoices. I thought that was I don't know if you saw that, but they were comparing invoices. They're like, took a roofing invoice and scanned it and compared it. And I think that, as much as we all want to fight the commodity part of our industry, there is part of that that's going to be in the future. Doesn't mean you still can't separate. Like, there's still, I got a home project I'm dealing with right now that I'm dealing with a stereotypical old school contractor. So there's still going to be areas of, differentiating yourself, but commodity and pricing and low price shopping, that's going to be a thing. And I think that social media and being out in front of the community and making sure that you're using the tools that Tersh is talking about, and the AI, and staying on top of that stuff is going to be important. I know for me, I have found myself probably more times in the last probably 5 months that if I go to Google something, I literally will ask myself why. And I'll go to ChatGPT and I ask it, because it's almost like if I'm Googling it, now I'm scraping my own information, where if I'm going to ChatGPT, it's doing it and you got to be careful, and you got to make sure you fact check what you got going on. But that's not going away. That's going to get heavier, and it's proof, because now Google's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yep.
And they're saying that you can probably fact check me on this one, but I want to say Google said that 10 or 15% they're planning on there being a reduction this year by the end of the year of search volume.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. I don't know the exact number, but I would not be surprised. I'm one of those percentages because, well, one of the things that Google has done, and it's the tech side of me commends Google for doing it, and I like kudos to you. I love it. The nerd side of me is just eating it up. But the small business owner side of me is super pissed about it. And that is the fact that Google has introduced this AI version of search where they scrape the internet and they give you the data, and you never click on anybody's website. Where you do a Google search and then at the top of the screen, it's just got, all right, here's the results. Almost like it's a chat GPT results reading out. And then at the very bottom of that little section, if you click the button that says read more, it'll say a majority of this information was scraped from this site, and this site, maybe. So it could have scraped half of one of your blog posts, but because it scraped 3/4 of these 3 other blog posts, you might not even be listed in that bottom of that screen right there. So they're not even going to, they're going to, they're going to show my blog post, but it's going to be now if I was ranked number 1, it's halfway down the screen. So if I was ranked number 3 or 4, it might not even be on the first page. And because they're putting their content at the top, so now they're scraping our websites with our blog posts and our content that we've created to give the results to the consumer. Because ultimately I understand that. So the tech side of me loves it because it's like, great, now I don't have to click on these websites to search anymore. I don't have to do, like you said, ChatGPT does this already for me. Well, Google, I'm sure Google recognized that and it's like, hey, we need to be doing this or else we're going to lose search. Oh yeah, absolutely. They're going to monetize it.
Hamburger at McDonald's, it's not going to get any cheaper.
Dude, I went to McDonald's the other day. Like having 4 kids, we had a budget thing in February. Like January, I had this like epiphany that was like, we eat out too much. Like everybody says they eat out too much, but I was like, I think I'm starting to get anxiety because we eat out too much. Like I think I'm noticing it a lot. We ate out. We had, now this is an embarrassing number to say out loud. We spent $8,000 the month of February on food. Can you imagine that number? Like, I looked through our receipts and our because we have a different credit card that we use for everything that we do, and we have an Apple credit card for going out to eat and food in general, just food and going out to eat. And it was $8,000, and that's the thing that triggered me. I was like, $8,000. Like, did we buy something else on the Apple card because that's supposed to be fast food only, or food eating out general? And they're like, no, we didn't buy a motorcycle or something. Like, we didn't buy another dirt bike. And I looked through all the receipts, and there were times where we literally went to McDonald's 4 times in one day. On the way to school, after she dropped the kids off at school, she stopped back by there and got some coffee and McMuffins or something that I don't eat, and I don't eat lunch. And she went and got lunch that day. And then as soon as the kids got home, they were hungry. And so she went back over there because she had to go take one of them to soccer practice that was right beside McDonald's. And so I was like, that was the month of January. We got the bill in February. And it was the beginning of February. And I was like, all right, kids, no fast food or no going out to eat the entire month of February and March. Let's see if we can do it. And we did it and spent like $900 at Sam's. I mean, I got that receipt back and I was like, $900. But we spent $900 each month at Sam's versus going out to eat and spending $8,000. I mean, granted, there were a couple of times we went to some fancy restaurants and probably spent $300 for a meal, or $400 maybe one time. But still, that's a lot of damn money to spend on food, and to cut that back. And I don't know where the hell this story is coming from. We were talking about something, but yeah, watching those receipts and cutting back on fast food. Oh yeah, you said McDonald's burgers cost more. Yeah. So one meal at McDonald's was like $40, and it was just for Julie and I. And it was like, she got two coffees, or two of the large espressos with 5 shots of espresso in them. And a Big Mac's like $9 now. And it's just, everything is more expensive. I got my Google AdWords, my LSA back, actually yesterday. And a couple months ago, we were averaging about $30 to $40 for every lead that we got from LSA. Now it's getting up there like $75, $80 for a lead. And I was like, man, their whole claim to fame was LSA was going to be way cheaper than pay-per-click, but it's not the case. So I think that using automation, so transition a little bit over into the automation side of the world things, the shortcomings that we have with our like throw it against the wall and see what sticks type marketing plans is there are bots out there that you can build, or you can use other people's bots and analyze your marketing spend, your return on investment for marketing, your analytics. You can literally put it into a analytics GPT. You can build your own analytics GPT very simply, and put your information in, and it will give you details. Like, you could put your years. I would first off preface this with, don't do this, okay, unless you know what you're doing. But you can literally upload a year, 2 years, 3 years worth of P&Ls, like every month's P&Ls, and it literally can tell you the trends that you're doing, where your shortcomings are, where you're winning, the things that you need to fix, and all. I say don't do that because there are certain scenarios that information is being used to learn with and is available to the public.
I was going to say, yeah, that's Chat GTP is an open source.
Yeah. And now there are closed loop sections. There's also private servers that use LLMs. So there are marketing agencies out there that use your data and throw it into something to analyze. If your marketing agency does that, just make sure that they are using something that's private, that has the firewalls. It's either on a private server or it's on a platform that, like, there's a paid plan, there's a paid version of Chat GPT that is for teams and enterprise level, and that information is not used to learn with. So it's not on the public web necessarily, but they haven't come out and said that they'll never upload it to the public web. So like, there's a chance that someday it could. We
started using something called Magi.
Yeah, Magi. So Magi is great because it doesn't store any data, and it deletes everything in 30 days. So, but that's the downside for me, because like I said earlier, I'm an asshole. So I will ask ChatGPT something, and then 6 weeks later, I'm like, oh yeah, let's revisit that conversation that we had, chat. And now it can remember the conversation, and it can find it in my chat threads. Used to, I have to scroll for days to the bottom of that chat thread and click on the one that I thought was the right one. But yeah, with Magi, I can't do that because after 30 days, it's gone.
Organizing Chat GTP for me has been a little bit of a challenge, just because it doesn't have a really nice, or at least
search feature.
What is it?
It doesn't have a search feature. Well, it on the desktop version, it had the search feature for about a week or 2 weeks, and then they took it back. Now, if you have it on your phone, there's the search functionality is there, and it works great. So sometimes if it's something that's rather old, I'll go to my phone app, I'll search it, and then I'll hit like a enter at the bottom of it.
At the top.
Just shoot it to the top, and then I can go over to my desktop and do that. Like, stupid workarounds. First world problems.
Well, cool. Tersh, man, I appreciate you coming and hanging out. Any last piece of advice for business owners out there before we call it good?
Well, when it comes to coaching and that type of thing, we talked a lot about family and talked about my kids, and I want everybody to know out there that my kids are great. Like they aren't the jerks that I make them out to be. They are really smart and wonderful kids, and I hold them to a very high standard because of that. But I also let them have fun. They ride dirt bikes. My dad's building a dirt bike track for them right now out in the backyard. When it comes to coaching though, like reach out to Justin and cause we had a wonderful conversation and we met at ACA in Orlando this year. And, that was a, great talk that you had working with your spouse. Ooh, yeah, that hit some nerves. And Julie and I have done that. We didn't even talk about that today. I mean, Julie and I have, she's a business partner in three of the 4-5 businesses that I own. And so it's okay. One piece of advice that I will share about couples and working together is for us, we have a life coach. We have a life coach couple. And one of the rules that they gave us, and it's been a game changer. The moment we are business owners together. We also work remote together. And so like we get up together, shower, dress, get ready for the day. We walk down the hallway together and sit in our office together. Like literally, I don't know how we do it because 10 years ago we would have murdered each other just because of being around each. Part of it's the life coach. One of the things that they gave us, the advice that they gave us is your life is like a rubber band. The more you say yes, sure, you can let that thing expand like a balloon and just cram one more thing in there. So Aaron, the 150-year-old soul child of mine, until about 6 months ago, he played semi-pro soccer at 14 years old. And like we traveled the country for this kid to play soccer. And it's hilarious because of his personality. You ask him, do you want to keep doing it? He's like, meh. You realize the level you're playing soccer and you're like, meh. So we turned it off. We cut it out. And part of that was because John and Joe were like, look, your rubber band is stretching and it keeps stretching and it keeps stretching. Sure, you can stick one more tournament in there. You're on the road. Just what's one more weekend's tournament? What's one more travel ball? Like what's one more thing? Just because it fits does not mean you need to put it in there, because what happens whenever you take that stuff out, all of a sudden your rubber band is all stretched out. Your relationship, that's the rubber band is your relationship. And now you don't have that, the filler that you were doing, your kid's baseball, you're going to the river every single week, or like, and you have to just be around each other. Like, how do you have a relationship? You don't, because your relationship's just super stretched out. And what's one way, like it either snaps, the rubber band snaps, or you apply heat to the rubber band to make it contract. What's that heat? That's them tough conversations. Like that's the heart to heart conversations that me as a dude don't want to have. One of the things is that really pushed our boundaries was we never turned work off, ever. So we came up with this rule that work never crosses the threshold of our bedroom, the door. So the moment you walk into our bedroom, if you're a couple that has a business together, try it out, see if it works for you. If you're laying in bed and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I have this schedule or this appointment tomorrow, I need to talk to you about this job. Like, all right, well, let's get up and go to the living room or go to the kitchen or go to the office. We're not going to talk about it in bed. You're laying there and your mind just goes crazy. And now I can just see her, she'll just pick up her phone and I'm like, she's not scrolling because she's not swiping up, she's typing. And I'm like, you're either mad typing somebody, like somebody's gonna piss you off, or you're brain dumping. Yeah, or you're brain dumping. And so she's doing brain dumps for the next morning. And then I'm prepared for, all right, tomorrow morning, I'm going to hear a whole bunch of stuff. But the thing about it is like, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, you have to create those boundaries. And I really enjoyed your book too, by the way. And so if anybody has anything about relationships, don't come to me. Like if you want to talk automation, you can come to me. I'll talk automation all day long. If you come to me about relationship stuff and coaching and stuff, like I'm just gonna give you the bad advice. So don't do that. Go to Justin.
Awesome, man. Tersh, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming and hanging out. And
my pleasure.
Listen, I'd love to get you back on to talk a little bit more because you've got some automation stuff that you're launching out. I'd love to get you back on and kind of dive deep into that a little bit. But thanks,
honored.
man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy.
Well, that was a really good interview. And I know we ran a little bit longer than we normally do on the show, but honestly, I got to tell you, I feel like it was worth it. Tersh has got so much value. And what's really interesting is there's so much stuff that he's been involved with so far in the industry, from the startup side of it, from now the AI side of it is a really big part of his focus. And it's just really, really neat to share the journey and then to hear about him having two different businesses in the same market is really incredible. And it proves the point that everyone is not your customer. I really hope that everybody got that from that conversation, because everybody's not your customer. And there is a such thing as a customer avatar, and you should know who your customer is. So listen, if you found value in today's episode, please make sure and subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share with a fellow leader who could benefit from mastering leadership, automation, and entrepreneurial strategies. Until next time, keep setting those high standards and watch your business and leadership transform. This is Justin Deese signing off from the Freedom Blueprint podcast. Stay motivated, stay strategic, and as always, keep crushing it.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.